Well, folks, today is going to be a very big day for gun owners. It is already rocking and rolling here in Washington, D.C. We're going to give you live commentary in just moments on Steve Dettelbach's confirmation hearing in the Judiciary Committee in the United States Senate. Guys, everybody in D.C. right now is trying to ram this guy through to advance gun control after the shooting last night in Texas. This is the second big shooting in the last couple of days in this country. Gun control failed again last night in Texas, but these folks know that they just don't care. Their goal is to use these dead Americans to advance Dettelbach and to advance their gun control agenda, guys. This is a big day for gun rights. Get in this video, guys. We're going to be giving you live commentary, live video feed from the hearing momentarily with action steps you guys can take. We have got to stand up and fight back right now.
Well, this is a huge double whammy is what's happening right here. This Dettelbach hearing was already scheduled. Obviously, we've been talking about this for days and weeks leading up to this nomination hearing that's taking place today. But now, after the shooting last night in Texas, everybody and their dog is out there calling for gun control, telling us how we need to pass red flag gun confiscations, universal or national gun registration. They want all of this stuff and they want it now. And now that's why today it's red alert for gun owners, because we stood a pretty good chance, I think, of maybe stopping somebody like Steve Dettelbach when this whole thing kicked off. But after the most recent shooting, I think we're in a bit of trouble. What do you think, Patrick?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And let me know if you can hear my
Audio is not working right now, but guys, everyone knows the left waits for these moments. I mean, let's just be honest. This is all in a playbook. This is all on a shelf. It's all in the drawer. And the moment they see a mass shooting, they're like, you know what? This is our time. We're going to use these dead Americans to shamelessly advance our agenda. This is their entire playbook. It's obvious. We all know it. And Dettelbach is their latest henchmen to use the ATF to come after gun owners who are always the ones blamed when a mad killer uses gun control laws to his advantage and shoots up and kills Americans over and over and over. We saw it in Buffalo. They used the magazine ban to his advantage. Red flag laws didn't stop him. Background checks didn't stop him. We saw it last night. Gun-free zones did not stop that killer. Background checks didn't stop that killer. None of this stuff works because it's all designed to stop us.
Oh,
It's
hey, we got to bounce over here, everybody. We got it live going on right now.
All right.
20 years is not possible without a really supportive family. I want to thank my wife, Carol, who is here along with my children, Allie and David, for their love.
Turn it up.
I lost my mom and my dad both not too long ago, but I know that they're with me. And my mom's kid sister and my dad's big brother, my Aunt Rita and Uncle Dick, are both here to support me and to remind me of the example my folks set for me. My mom, who was a teacher, especially poignant today. And my wonderful father-in-law, Saul Bielostowski, who brought his family, including my wife, to this great country to raise her in Texas almost 50 years ago, is here with us as well. Finally, especially given the horrible events we all saw the last day, I want to thank again the brave and dedicated men and women of law enforcement, and especially the ATF. I've worked with ATF agents and seen their work for 30 years. And it's not just the agents. From the agents, of course, who respond to horrific crime scenes and they risk their lives standing shoulder to shoulder with state and local cops on the street, to the analysts and staff who anonymously pore over evidence and data late into the night, how to make a case, to the bomb technician responding to a horrible incident, a dangerous incident, to the lab person who's working against time, trying to make a ballistic match, and more. I want those people and the others at the ATF to know that I honor that service. And I want both they and the public they protect to know if I'm giving the privilege of becoming a Senate-confirmed ATF director, that I will work every day to join them as a leader and as a partner in both good times and bad. We face many threats to public safety, both new and old. Violent crime is increasing. Firearms violence and mass shootings are increasing. Hate crimes and religious violence are increasing, as is violent extremism. If confirmed, I promise to do everything I can to enforce the law, to respect the Constitution of the United States, and to partner with law enforcement to protect the safety and the rights of innocent and law-abiding Americans. And I vow, if I'm given the privilege of serving as director, to partner with others to advance the cause of public safety and to approach that task, especially now, here and now, with an open heart, with open ears, and always with an open mind. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks, Mr. Dettelbach. The chair has returned, but with his permission, I'm going to make a very brief statement and ask some questions. Mr. Dettelbach, I want to join you in thanking the extraordinary professionals of ATF, the agency that you've been nominated to
Guy's
lead,
a psycho.
having been a federal prosecutor, the United States Attorney in Connecticut, for 4.5 years. I've worked with this agency and I have followed their work over the years, and there's no more dedicated and brave group of professionals. And what we've seen over the last 24 hours, again, we've seen it repeatedly over these years, is the devotion of local law enforcement and state police to stopping gun violence and rescuing the victims and survivors of gun violence in this country. President Biden has made it clear that his administration is committed to combating the surge in violent crime in communities across the United States. But as we know,
just a monster, man.
violent crime cannot be stopped without also stopping gun violence. Firearms make violent crime all the more violent and all the more likely to be deadly. The best laws on the books
Don't do shit.
a dead letter if they are not enforced effectively. And it will be your job to make sure that the premier federal agency responsible for gun violence has the mandate and the independence to pursue it diligently, fearlessly, and ferociously. You come here at a moment of
Ferociously against gun owners.
anxiety and anger in this country. And I believe that we must move forward with gun violence prevention reforms that will make our laws more effective and give you more tools that you need in saving communities and individual lives. I believe in the Second Amendment. It's the law of the land.
Lying
you
bastard.
We can take
You're such a
that are
liar.
consistent with the Second Amendment
Buy
that would
the
separate
big ones.
people from firearms if they are dangerous to themselves. Red flag statutes, background check, safe storage, like Ethan's law, ghost guns, and
Ghost guns.
and
The ghost
and
guns.
others. When it comes to tackling these kinds of problems, we need an agency that is not only independent, but will be perceived as independent beyond the influence and grip of the gun lobby, which all too often has been perceived as having undue impact on the ATF. And that perception itself can undermine an agency's effectiveness. So as much as I feel that you will bring new leadership, I think it is important that we move forward to give you that opportunity as quickly as possible, particularly seizing this moment of extraordinary challenge to make sure you have a mandate from the United States Congress to do your job. Let me ask you how you will draw on your background as a prosecutor to make sure that you're effective in this job.
Senator, I have spent the vast majority of my career as a prosecutor, over 20 years. I've worked in, and it is a core value of mine, something that I have lived with and that I will continue, that politics can play no role in law enforcement, none at all. I've worked under Republican administrations and I worked under Democratic administrations as a prosecutor. And I have lived that credo and I vow to continue to do it because people need to have confidence that people in law enforcement's only agenda is to enforce the law. And if you're at the ATF, you catch the bad guys and trouble. I'd like to think that my record doing that is why I have support of over 140 senior.
Yeah, start with Eric Holder, who got Americans killed with Fast and Furious, you pieces of trash.
Deputy Attorney General for Donald Trump and the Deputy Attorney General for President Bush, as well as the Deputy Attorney General for President Obama, from Assistant Attorney Generals from both sides of the aisle, and from U.S. attorneys in my state who were both appointed by President Trump and in other states. And I vow to never let politics in any way influence my action as ATF director.
You have a record.
He ran for Attorney General as a gun grabber.
Of combating extremism, in particular religion-motivated violence. While U.S. Attorney, you were praised by both Republicans and Democrats for combating that kind of violent extremism. You know that a number of gun violence incidents, some of the most deadly, most recently in Buffalo, but also Oak Creek, Charleston, Charlottesville, Pittsburgh, El Paso, were motivated by this kind of white supremacy, anti-religion, religious faith kind of violence. How will that experience by you in dealing with such incidents be part of your motivation here?
Senator, I have seen started 30 years ago, I've seen both the incidents and the audacity of anti-religious violence grow over time. It was there when I started, but things have seemed to unfortunately go in the wrong direction. And I will say this as somebody who's a prosecutor and as somebody who's raising Jewish children as a religious minority in this country. I spent time in Pittsburgh. I talked to people at Tree of Life. When I was U.S. Attorney, the largest mosque in my state was torched. An African-American church was torched. We caught a fellow in Toledo who had stockpiled. This is a convicted killer, somebody who had shot 3 people, killed 1, had a felony record for that. And we found him in Toledo with 18 weapons, 40,000 rounds of ammunition, a Kevlar vest, and surveillance evidence that he was scouting out and following the head of the Jewish Community Federation in Detroit and the head of the NAACP in Detroit. Thankfully,
sounds like those places of worship need to arm themselves.
Senator, this is part of who I am, and it is a core American value to be able to have religious freedom and to worship without fear of violence. We have to make sure we protect them.
Thank you, Mr. Dettelbach. Thanks, Mr.
So this guy's going to eliminate fear. He's going to eliminate all fears by just putting him at the ATF.
Last year in Chicago, my wife and I attended a memorial service for a Chicago policewoman. Her name was Ella French. She was gunned down in the streets of Chicago in her squad car, and her partner was shot in the head as well. He lost his sight in one eye.
Criminals, gangsters, and thugs.
Ripped that city like nothing I've ever seen. At the memorial service, there were uniformed policemen from all for hours to show was a straw purchase, meaning that a person with a clean record went to the gun dealer, federally licensed gun dealer, and legally purchased the gun, handed over to the person who took Ella French's life. This so-called straw purchase has been viewed in the past by some as a bookkeeping matter, a misdemeanor type matter, or at least low on the priority. This came to the life of this policewoman. It was certainly not a misdemeanor matter. It is a matter of life and death. Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Agency, which you seek to head, has as one of its responsibilities
Is the audio breaking up for y'all on this guy?
applying to these federally licensed gun dealers. What is the proper approach when it comes to prosecution? What is the proper approach when we instruct federal licensees who are selling guns? They have a duty to.
These guys all come from the presumption that their laws are going to stop bad guys from getting firearms. And these government agencies simply just don't
Proper
do that.
approach to enforcing
They
these
never
laws
have.
on the books. It's illegal to straw purchase. But the proper approach is, number one, a team approach. So one of the things I've seen in law enforcement, and I know that they're trying in Chicago, is to make sure that we're working together with state and local law enforcement in task forces. And I'm a big fan of the task force approach.
I bet you are.
To make sure that we're
Big
in the
fan.
communities, listening to local police officers about the threats that they're facing. So if they see a threat, a certain threat, if it's a straw purchase threat, if it's firearms coming from another place, we're listening to them. With respect to how to handle them, it's not a paperwork offense when somebody intentionally lies and buys, and is able to get a firearm unlawfully for another person. And the lie is you check the box that says it's for you and it's really for somebody else. And those should be prosecuted to the extent of the law. It's a very serious violation.
Of course, if the gun is purchased without a background check, there's no way to know what the circumstances are for the buyer or who the ultimate purchaser of the gun might be. Is that correct? Right. In the course of your practice, you've dealt with law enforcement. You've represented law enforcement, and you've represented those who were charging police misconduct. Tell me your view of the role of law enforcement today in the common conversation about reforming police.
Thank you, Chair Durbin. Senator.
All right, I don't think we need to watch that for very long. But folks, I hope my audio doesn't get too loud here for a minute. But you guys are all watching this. I think I saw a comment just a minute ago. These people are the reason why we need to defend our gun rights. They're the reason why we need to keep our gun rights. This government is getting more tyrannical every 5 minutes. And we need to keep our guns to protect ourselves from these guys, not just the killers that walk into schools, by the way. Nobody here, and I really hope I see this today. I guess we should take some odds between the four of us here and pipe in the comment section if you guys have some on this. But is there going to be any discussion of arming the freaking teachers? You know, we trust everybody that all these people sitting there today are all protected by guns. But every single one of them are going to sit up there and be like, well, whatever. We should just take the guns away from all the law abiding.
Right. We defend our president with guns. We defend our congressmen with guns. We defend our governors with guns. We defend our celebrities with guns. We defend our sporting events, jewelry stores, banks, office buildings, factories, courts. All of these people, all of these institutions get defended with firearms. They have people at the door. There's always some old timer there with a pistol on his hip ready in case somebody comes in and decides to try to do something bad. But when it comes to our schools, we sit here and go, oh, there's just nothing we can do. What we need to do is take away all of the guns from everybody, which is simply and always code for we're going to take guns away from everyday law-abiding Americans and all of the criminals and the thugs and the crazies and the psychos. They all get to keep their guns. Are we going back to the feed?
Yeah, we got Mike Lee.
Yeah, we're back to the feed.
For example, as I recall, Mr. Dettelbach, you've called for every type of gun control under your leadership as U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Ohio. The number of prosecutions, firearms, and explosive cases filed by the office actually decreased by almost half, from 123 cases filed in 2008 to only 65 cases filed in 2016. Now, there may well be reasons for that. I'm not familiar with all the operations of the office at the time, but it's worth inquiring into. What's even more outrageous, though, is the gun groups like every town wasted no time in attempting to profit off of this horrific tragedy in Uvalde, Texas. Every town's fundraising email attempts to play on the emotions of those whose lives have been ripped apart by this tragic shooting is troubling. Their email says, quote, "This crisis will only end if we band together and demand action from our lawmakers. I need you in this fight." And at the end of the letter is a large red button that says contribute to end gun violence. Now, Mr. Dettelbach, you're endorsed by every town. Is that right?
I believe so, Senator.
Are you willing to disavow
I think so.
shameless immediate fundraising of the Texas tragedy just hours after this tragedy occurred?
Senator, as I've said, and I want to repeat and promise you, as ATF director, politics have absolutely no place in law enforcement. They have
It's
no
so
place
full of crap,
in
man.
an ATF director, and I don't view this as a Democrat or Republican issue. I view it as an opportunity to try to work together to make things better.
I appreciate that, and that's as it should be. Do you disavow these efforts?
Senator, I haven't seen what you're referring to, and it's not for me to get involved in a political argument. I am going to be a law enforcement person again, as I've done for 20 years, if I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed. And I vow I would never be involved in any political aspect of that kind of thing while I'm ATF director.
So I appreciate that, and that's as it should be. I do think it's unfortunate that they're doing this literally hours after the shooting, and I don't think that's too difficult to disavow, but apparently you're not inclined to do that. And then, do you support the Biden administration's zero tolerance policy for federal firearms licensees?
Senator, I was not at the ATF when those policies were developed, and I've not had a chance to speak with the people at the ATF about all the things behind them. I can tell you, I represent now, and I'm in private practice, I represent businesses who deal with regulators. And to me, the three key things of good regulation is it has to be, number one, it has to be fair. Number two, it has to be consistent. And number three, it has to be effective. And when, in my experience representing clients, when you can't do those things, it creates an uncertain business atmosphere for people who are trying to follow the law. And I would tell you, as an ATF director, that would be very important to me, is to find out how we can be, and you can do those things at the same time. It's not always easy, but you can, because it's important for people who have Second Amendment rights and who are business people.
To that end, do you believe that federal firearms licensees should have their licenses revoked for simple paperwork errors on Form 4473, or for missing outreach from ATF or a tracing request?
Senator, to me, again, I would have to look at any individual case, but I will tell you, Senator, people have to know that if they have a minor violation, it's going to be treated one way. And people have to know if it's more significant, it's going to be treated every time, not depending on whether it's in Seattle or Miami or what month it is. And I would tell you, Senator, that would be very important to me to do that. And I think lawyers then argue about what happened, right? This was intentional. No, it wasn't intentional. That's where I think we can have discussions as a regulator in a regulated industry. But people should understand and have some predictability. They're entitled to is, when you do this, this is what happens.
In my time's expired, I would like you to answer that question, though, because it's a simple one. And I appreciate your willingness to say there should be clarity. I completely agree. I would like to know, though, whether a federally licensed firearms dealer should lose his or her license, based on simple paperwork errors in Form 4473.
Again, Senator, to me, it depends on each case is different. So, for instance, you're saying errors. I assume by that you mean something that's totally unintentional.
Yes.
Right. So unintentional violations are much less serious than intentional violations to me.
So on that basis, they should not lose their license.
Yes, I guess if it's happened.
How many times have we heard this in government, man?
I'm just making that
you
up.
unintentionally did something and you get
circumstance
locked in a web of government
in other words,
bureaucracy
factors or recidivism
or mitigating factors. And the lawyers argue about that, obviously.
Gotcha. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
oh boy.
With all due respect to my friend from Utah, and he is my friend, I'm getting concerned by hearing a number of people of gun advocate,
Retired dinosaur.
gun control advocates speaking out, it's almost a case of blaming the victims and not blaming the person who's able to walk in and buy a weapon that should be used on a
Here he
He
goes.
heard me. I think he heard me.
not in a school zone. The kind of weapons being used by the Russians in Ukraine have no place in a school.
No, they have AKs, you idiot.
It's trying to blame those who sell weapons of war this way.
The Ukrainians are using AR-15s. Come on.
I seem outrageous because gun violence continues to plague the country. As the senators from Connecticut pointed out, nearly 10 years ago, 20 children, 6 adults were slaughtered at Sandy Hook Elementary. This committee under my chairmanship advanced common sense legislation to address shortcomings in our gun policy. But what happened yesterday? 19 elementary school children, 2 teachers gunned down in their Texas school by a teenager. Nothing has changed. Nothing except more lives lost. When my Republican colleagues goes on television, oh, the answer to this is to arm the elementary school teachers. When my children, my grandchildren have been in elementary school, I expect the teachers to be teaching, not carrying guns.
Common Core math and transgenderism.
Empty thoughts and prayers and oh, it's awful. Well, let's start doing something. Let's stand up as senators, both parties, and actually vote for real restrictions on guns. We're the only civilized nation on earth that watches children gunned down, and we do nothing to prevent it from happening again. We're cowards if we don't act. Cowards.
Cowards.
Now, Mr. Dettelbach, it is good to see you again. Former staff member of mine on this committee, I know the.
Oh, he's not political, man. Former Leahy staff member. He must have missed that comment.
Now, maybe a little bit different thing at the nominees table, but I congratulate you on your nomination. You served from 2009 to 2016 as U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Ohio. You spent 2 decades as a prosecutor. I think it's critically important that the ATF have a permanent director who can enforce our nation's gun laws. You're a career prosecutor. You can do that. In fact, I'd like to ask you one question. I've heard this from police officers and law enforcement in my own state, but all over. There's an issue plaguing the ATF's National Tracing Center in West Virginia. The NTC is our country's only crime gun tracing facility. That means whenever a gun is found at a crime scene, law enforcement need to find the gun's last known owner. They submit a trace request to the National Tracing Center because that might trace down who some of the suspects or traffickers could be. But because of a misguided, I'd say stupid restriction imposed by Congress, the ATF is currently unable to electronically search the tens of millions of gun sale records currently in its possession. Just go look at the warehouses full of paper records, my God. In 2022, ATF employees are forced to conduct these record searches by hand. The restrictions to electronic search of these records, stupidly rooted in an irrational fear that lead to a national registry of firearms, has real-world implications for our law enforcement.
This guy's boring.
All right, let's just cut right back to this for a minute. He's getting into databasing, everybody, and I think that's the first time we actually heard somebody accurately say what they want to do. It's time to be courageous and pass real restrictions on guns. This has nothing to do with the dang criminal. They've got no interest in justice here. Nobody has said, thank God this dude is dead. Thank goodness that this guy was sent to hell. And how did he die? I don't even know. But
no, the cops. You mean in Texas? Yeah, the cops got him after he got there. But I think for everybody watching, the key thing here to start to drill into our brains, and this might not have been the case maybe 15 years ago, or it wasn't as obvious. But anytime you start thinking to yourself, this is about arguments about good versus evil. This is about facts, numbers, studies.
Nope.
This is all a show. This is all a joke. They don't give a crap about these dead kids in Texas. They don't care about the dead people in Buffalo, New York. All of this is a sham just to ram gun control down our throats. We heard Leahy say, we're the last country on earth where we have these mass shootings. What he really means is we're the last country on earth where we the people have guns, where we the people have the right to defend ourselves against tyranny. This is the whole ball game. Globalists across the world hate us because we the people in this country, it's the only country on earth like it. We have the guns to defend ourselves against tyranny. And because we have that, we are a light to oppressed people across the world. And every globalist bastard across the globe hates us for it. And they're using their Soros money through people like Leahy there and Dick Durbin to be their mouthpiece, saying we have got to crush this. That is all this is about. It's not about crime. It's not about victims. It's about disarming us and taking away freedom's last chance on the earth right now.
I mean, other countries, they have acid baths. That's what happens in other countries. You know, you get women on a train, get some person with a very strange worldview and belief system come and fling a jar full of acid in your face. Okay, like over in Europe, people get stabbed relentlessly. People are simply totally unarmed, totally unable to protect themselves against, well, first of all, tyranny, most importantly, but far more importantly, or as importantly, as criminals, thugs, gangbangers. Like, I'm a big guy, okay? I know a lot of little women. Women carry guns. Women protect themselves with guns. Old people, young people, people in wheelchairs. That's what the Second Amendment is about. Leveling the playing field when bad people want to do bad things. And we have the ability to do that in America. And they talk about elementary school teachers, being told, we're not asking them to wear SWAT uniforms, okay? We don't suggest that they have an AR-15 or 2 or 3 strapped across their back. We're not talking about bandoleros with 5.56 or 2.23 strapped across their chest. What we're saying is, if a teacher wants to carry a pistol, concealed in a classroom to protect themselves, their loved ones, students in the room from bad people who do bad things, they should be able to do so. It's common sense is what it is.
Because believe it or not, the act of carrying a firearm as a teacher while you're teaching is not a hard thing to do. I'm carrying my Glock 43X right now. We're having this conversation. We're watching these videos. All I can think about is the Parkland, Florida coach who was licensed to carry a firearm. That firearm was in his car. And when those 18 people were getting killed inside the Parkland, Florida school, he had to use his body as a human shield because he wasn't allowed to carry the firearm that's in his car. That's all we're talking about here. It's plain and simple. It's common sense. And again, it's exactly what these people already enjoy as members of Congress: full-time armed security, X-ray machines, all these different things. So it's not hard.
Aaron Feist was his name. Had a
Aaron
permit to carried a gun every day, but every day he had to leave his pistol at home because he was going to school. And so he literally put his body in front of those kids and got shot to death. When you think, I guarantee, what's going through his head? If only I had my freaking gun, this wouldn't be happening right now.
Yeah.
It would have been a one and done situation.
Yeah.
We just saw this from the shooter in Buffalo, right? He just said, I went to New York. I went to this place. I went over here because they have magazine restrictions. They have AR-15 restrictions. They have all of this gun control, and I can shoot these people like fish in a barrel. That's exactly what's happening in these schools. Every person in America knows that schools are gun-free zones. So you know what? I stand a pretty good chance of killing a bunch of people and maybe getting out alive because I'm going into a place to kill people where guns are not allowed. These policies are getting people killed.
Yes.
None of this is on accident. This is all being done on purpose. Again, it's hard maybe for some. I mean, not for most of us because we're a bunch of realists. But again, it's hard for a lot of people to realize this is part of their agenda. They want to see chaos in the streets. They want to see people gunned down by criminals. They can use that chaos to their advantage and try to ram gun control into law. That's all this is. This is not anything to do with crime or right or wrong. These people are evil, and they want to disarm every single one of us, and they don't give a damn about dead people in Buffalo, dead people in Texas. They just don't care. So stop trying to convince them that we have a right to keep and bear arms. This is not an education gap. They know it. They hate you for it. That's it. So our only job now as gun owners is to hold the line until November, boot out anybody who hates your gun rights. But then remember that the Republicans also have a major obligation here, and that starts right now today in this Dettelbach hearing. The Republicans can stand up and say, you know what, this is BS, and we're going to leave. That's what they did when it came back to Chipman last summer. They could stand up and say, we're not going to support this sham. We're not going to support the charade. It's an 11-11 committee. We're gone. They could fight back. That's the question is, will they? And especially when it comes to the next Congress, when we have a Republican-controlled chamber, we hope, or maybe even two, we hope. What will they do then? Yeah. Will they fight to roll this shit back? Because it's not going to help if we keep just stopping an AW ban. We have got to roll back the Gun-Free School Zones Act of 1994. We have got to roll back all the 1,000-foot rules around schools. We have to roll all of this stuff back and crush the ATF as well. So if we get these kind of majorities back, we have got, as gun owners, we have got to push the Republicans saying this has to happen and it has to happen now.
What freaking pisses me off the most about all of this, and I'm sure you guys can all agree with me on this, but it pisses me off that these bastards share none of the blame. They don't sit there and shoulder any of the blame. Patrick Leahy, Dick Durbin, all these corrupt, degenerate pieces of human trash sit there and they blame us. Well, here's some news for you. You share no blame. You share zero guilt. These people are the ones who passed the Gun-Free School Zones Act. These people are the ones who are promoting this agenda and this worldview that yanks God out of the schools. This is the corrupt politicians who are indoctrinating our kids that you can have sex changes when you're as little as 5 and 6 years old. It's sick. But they sit there in these positions, and this is why I get so angry at these Republicans who don't just go to war against them in these committee meetings, because they sit there, they foist this blame on you. The Republicans stay silent, and that's why we have to fight back so loud, so hard against this stuff, because they like Aaron has said, they care none whatsoever. They are literally the degenerate Rumpelstiltskins of America. They spin the blood of the innocent dead into gold for their agenda of communism, of the destruction of freedom. And it pisses me off that they don't ever take any of the blame or acknowledge the blame. And of course they wouldn't, because they don't care. But anyway, I guess I'll stop preaching here, folks. Hit your petition at stopdettelbach.com. Fire that sucker off today, right now. We're delivering these things to Washington, D.C., and we need to be hammering on your senators, especially in all the states that you guys are watching this on right now.
Yeah, guys, and we talk about going on offense. There hasn't been a lot of offense in the Congress other than what the American Firearms Association has been doing and working with our allies during this Democrat-controlled Congress. Eliminate the ATF, Second Amendment Preservation Act, on and on. What do we have? Gun Owner Privacy Act. This is the type of stuff that we do at the American Firearms Association. If you're not yet a member, guys, hop on board at joinafa.org. Get on board and join today. Yes, this takes money. It takes resources. It's not free to run TV ads, radio ads, on direct mail, which we did all of it here in Georgia, where I am last night, guys. And a lot of great pro-gun legislators were reelected, including one of our allies, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who introduced a number of pro-gun pieces of legislation, which we'll hope she will be doing as well. We'll be working with her as well in 2023 when Republicans take back the majority. Who's speaking who's speaking right now on the Senate Judiciary Committee?
Dettelbach is speaking, and we could go pipe in there for a minute if we wanted to,
So,
but
yeah, this
um,
guy, I mean, this guy plays, you can see it. He's an attorney. It said his income last year was a couple of $1 million, a big high profile attorney. He knows what he's doing. They've learned the lessons of the David Chipman saga from last year when gun owners beat the crap out of him. However, this guy can't run from his record. And we knew his record within minutes of him being announced back in
Yeah.
April by Biden. And you saw it from Mike Lee. These Republicans better stay together. They better boycott him. They better walk
Yes.
out at some point and just say no, because we know what this guy's all about. He's lying through his teeth about being apolitical. Just 4 years ago, this dude was running for attorney general in Ohio, endorsed by Obama, Biden, all of them. So why don't we cut back over there, guys, and keep going? Thanks for everybody being on. Let us know where you are watching from. You probably heard me a second ago. I'm here in Kennesaw, Georgia. The guys are working all around the country today, guys. Some of us may drop off here in the next few minutes, but a number of us are going to stay on and continue to give some commentary and hopefully some grassroots activism action items here for
Yeah.
y'all to take.
Hey, how about we bounce over? Josh Hawley is up right now. He's usually pretty good on this subject. You guys want to bounce over and listen to him?
Pull him in.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
2016. Okay. And you were responsible as U.S. Attorney for your district for prosecuting all manner of crimes, including federal firearms crimes. Is that correct?
I oversaw an office that was responsible for federal prosecution and law enforcement in the Northern District of Ohio.
Right, including firearms offenses. Were those high priority for you?
They were, Senator.
Yeah. Do you think that they should be a high priority?
I think, yes, I think you're working with local law enforcement and state law enforcement together, but together you're working in partnership, and violent crime and gun crime should be a priority. Terrorism is a priority also. There are other priorities, but yes, it is a priority.
Sure. And you just said that you said to Senator Feinstein that you'd be very strong in this role. I assume you think it's important to be very strong as a prosecutor when it comes to violent crime, including firearms crime, like the kind that we saw yesterday. Is that fair to say?
Yes, Senator, I think it is fair but strong, yes.
Yeah. So let me just ask you then about something in your record that puzzles me, and I was hoping you could walk me through it. When you became the U.S. Attorney, there were about 120 firearms and explosives prosecutions a year. By the time you left, there were half that number. And in fact, there was a pretty continuous decline over 3 years, lower year on year, 113.
What happened?
75 in 2015, 65 in 2016, which you just told me was your last year. What accounts for that? Walk me through that.
Yeah, sure, Senator. So prosecuting gun crime. Look, from my earliest days as a prosecutor in Maryland, I was the liaison officer, what we then called Project Disarm, which meant I sat with an ATF agent and a PG County detective in that conference room every Monday morning with a stack of cases this high and went through which one should go state, which one they would tell me this is a dangerous person, we should go federal, this is a gang case, put it in a third pile. And I have been committed to that for many years. When I was U.S. Attorney, we already had in the office, my predecessor, who I worked for and did gun cases for, Greg White, who's supporting my nomination, he had an aggressive program, and we continued it. We never changed our intake guidelines. We never lowered them. There were times where we never raised them. We actually lowered them sometimes. If I got a phone call from Youngstown saying we're having a problem, we would go out and do what we call the VGRIP program. And I did that every summer.
This is a bunch of BS,
in one city
man.
or another, depending on where the data showed the problems were. And so there were years where our gun crime prosecutions went up. And then there were years where they went down. We didn't change our guidelines. I will tell you, during some of those years, law enforcement, they're the ones who bring you the cases, right? Federal law enforcement and others. And my office, too, had significant staffing issues. I was U.S. Attorney during sequestration. I was U.S. Attorney during shutdown. I actually, to show people you had to do everything, I sat at the reception desk at one point as U.S. Attorney. And so I can't tell you what causes ups and downs in those numbers, but I'll tell you one thing that didn't cause it was any change in our approach to what cases should be prosecuted in our office.
But it's a pretty big drop, isn't it? I mean, 121 cases brought the year you became U.S. Attorney. It's pretty constant then for, as you said, a couple of years, I assume, because you're following your predecessor's policy. And then it begins a steady decline down to 65. I mean, that's that's half as much. And what I noticed is the next year under your successor, it doubles. So help me understand. I mean, what is this? Was this just not something that you were pushing, or were you said earlier? Was this the police's fault?
No, it wasn't the police's fault. And it was something that I definitely focused significant time and attention on. The same people in the office who are great career assistant U.S. attorneys ran that program. It wasn't that I was just following the program of my predecessor. I believed in it, and we never changed it. So with respect to these kinds of cases, Senator, I never saw a situation where any person who worked for me in my office was declining cases. There was a time I remember in Akron, Ohio, where this great career assistant, probably one of the most aggressive gun prosecutors I ever met. She
Aggressive.
said it didn't match our guidelines. Says, Chief of Police in Akron called me, and he said, this is wrong. And I said, well, tell me what's going on. She said, well, we don't have a predicate that matches the office policy, whatever it was at the time. Yes, but the Youngstown Police Chief, Jim Nice, just told me they like this guy for 2 homicides that they haven't caught him for, and he's terrorizing a complex. We're doing the case. And we did the case. That was my attitude from when I started to when I finished, and it was my predecessor's attitude and my successors, who are all supporting me for this job.
So what you're telling me is you don't know why the prosecutions went in half, or why the cases, these aren't.
There were years it went up, I believe, Senator, also.
Well, sure. And I mentioned, it was about level. I mean, and your high water mark was 160, but then it goes down to 65. And as I said, there's a pattern here. It's a 3-year, 113 in 2014, 75 in 2015, 65 in 2016. But it sounds like you don't know. I mean, that's your testimony.
Yeah, my last day as U.S. Attorney was February 5th of 2016, Senator.
Right. So the cases that were prosecuted that year were in the pipeline under you. Did you study it? I mean, did you look at these numbers and say, this is disturbing? I mean, this needs to change. We need to get tough.
Senator, I think we enforce the law, and I will tell you that cases in that kind of program are very quick turnaround cases. We have to charge within sometimes a week or two. It's not like a white collar case. Cops catch somebody in the street who's dangerous, they arrest them. We've got to charge.
Did crime go down during those years?
Crime did go down, but I don't know what the particular cause is. I know we never changed our policy, Senator, and I know that it was an office priority.
Why don't you take that for the record and get back to me on that? And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Let me recognize Senator Coons. Thank you.
Oh, this guy's annoying as crap.
Thank you, Senator Whitehouse, and thank you to our 3 nominees in front of us today. I am not a rude man, but I will tell you I have genuinely struggled today. The number of
I think so. This guy's about as boring as it gets.
Yeah, I can't. I don't want to sit there and listen to that idiot. But I don't know. I look forward into time here a little bit, and if the Republicans take the entirety of Congress, one thing that they should be doing is holding hearings on eliminating the ATF. If you eliminate the freaking ATF, which is unconstitutional, and which the limited portions of their job description that may perhaps need addressing could easily be handled by other agencies. These people, it's an unconstitutional department anyway, and it should be eliminated. That's what we're going to need to see out of Republicans in this next Congress.
And that's and a lot of people ask this. They're like, well, where did this bureaucracy or whatever come from? Well, Congress created it. Congress appropriated money for it. Can you guys hear me all right on the microphone?
A little soft.
A little soft.
My
I don't know
opinion.
what's going on with it, but I'll stay close to it. You know, Congress has to do this. And that's where these Republicans have failed us.
Yes.
For decades. Like, I mean, many of them still to this day still support this type of enforcement and everything else. But the point that Chris made, if there's any legitimate functions of this bureaucracy, they can be folded over into something else. And this is very important. We can't just half-ass this. Like, we have to go at them and go at them hard and get rid of this, or at least right. I think Aaron says it a lot. The extremes determine the middle, right? Like, we need to ask for it all. And Republicans in the majority under a Democrat president next year, especially, they need to set the tone. We at the American Firearms Association alongside our legislative colleagues, namely Congresswoman Green, when I was her chief of staff there. She filed the Eliminate the ATF Act. Other Republicans need to follow suit and make this happen. Ben, did you have something there?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, these agencies were created to circumvent the constitutional process.
Yes.
That's the whole
Yes.
point of them, right? If the powers that people like that agencies like the ATF wield, if they were to be wielded by Congress or by the president, people would stand up and say, hold on a second, that's unconstitutional. You can't do that. Those powers are not delegated to you in the U.S. Constitution or the Bill of Rights or anything else in the founding documents. Agencies like the ATF were designed and have. Here's a fiscal year 2020 enacted budget was approximately $1.4 billion in tax money. Just the ATF gets. They have 5,082 employees, including 2,653 special agents and 760 industry operations investigators, for $1.5 billion a year. And they were trying to increase that funding over the last 2-year cycle in Congress. And it's all about giving these agencies the power to do things that are totally outside the scope of government, totally outside the scope of the U.S. Constitution. And the agencies go on all these departments, Department of Education, the Department of this, the Department of that. It's all unconstitutional. And more than that, it all hurts Americans. It hurts law-abiding Americans. It hurts patriots. It hurts freedom. It hurts people who simply want to be responsible for making the choices in their own lives and not having the government crushing us at every turn. So, yes, I think we should totally eliminate the ATF. Be done with it.
Yeah. Guys, if you've yet to renew your membership or join up with the American Firearms Association, join up now at joinafa.org, www.joinafa.org. That will automatically get you on our grassroots email alert list, as will signing the stopdettelbach.com petition. But going that next step, especially those of y'all who have fought alongside us at the state level for really 12 or 13 years now. You've seen us pass SAPA. You've seen us pass constitutional carry. You've seen us stop the unconstitutional mandates that these radical leftists want to put on us. Now we're doing it at the federal level. Okay. Hop on board, $35 a year, less than 10 cents a day, guys. Join up at joinafa.org. You're going to get your membership decal. You're going to get your membership t-shirt, small to 4X. You're getting your email on the grassroots email list, guys, and you'll be on the shows here all the time with us as well. So join up. We are going to be back with any more updates and video clips that are important for everyone to see on this Dettelbach hearing that is happening right now. Boring. We get it. You don't have time. You're at lunch. You're working in the yard. You're with your family, kids, whatever. We are monitoring it for you. We will keep you updated, and we will let you know when to take action. Join up at joinafa.org. Look out for emails. Look out for social media. And let's kick this guy's butt, and let's win. Let's not fall victim to the little games that these people are trying to play right now, because at the end of the day, it's all about eliminating our Second Amendment rights. I'm Patrick Parsons with AFA. Chris?
Yeah, one last thing I just want to touch on here for a second is, folks, they are trying to ram this through right now because they are trying to run. It's like a suicide squeeze in baseball. They're trying to score this point before what they know is about to happen in these midterm elections. So they are pushing this very hard. We need to fight back like vicious sons of bitches that I know that we can, that we did on David Chipman. They're trying really hard to get this done right now before these elections. That's why they are totally throwing gas in the fire and pushing these hearings a lot faster than they did with David Chipman. But folks, all we got to do is keep this up until November. Let's keep pushing hard on sending those emails, making those phone calls, signing those petitions, sharing these videos. That's what we need to do. We need to get engaged. I know it's summertime. I know everybody wants to be doing those other things. I sure do. But you know what? We need to focus right here, because like Patrick was saying, like Ben was saying, like Aaron was saying earlier, this guy isn't credentialed to do jack crap anything. He's only being brought on here to spearhead Joe Biden's executive order enforcement. They want to add all of your AR-15s to the NFA. They want to add your Glocks. They want to add your Berettas. Berettas? Where did I pull that up? They want to add all of your firearms to the NFA list and then make the ATF be the ultimate arbiter of the firearms that you can and can't possess. They need a chief to do that. And this is the guy that they're picking to do it. So we need to keep fighting. We have a time window here that we need to stay focused. So be hitting those emails, signing those petitions, making those phone calls, and join up as a member of American Firearms Association. And we will keep hammering out this easy to take action links for you guys to do this, these easy to share videos, and keep you guys totally in the loop and engaged in this fight with us. And with that, we're going to end this video for today. Folks, thanks for watching. Thank you for fighting. And thanks for being a part of this team.